coming down.
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Look at Thompson. Haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the VMSC NRAS series. We're back in California after our trip last time out at Long Beach to Laguna Seca, a very different circuit, despite us not traveling too far. Myself, Darren Thacker, joined alongside James Parfit up in the commentary box, pushing all the buttons, making the broadcast look absolutely wonderful here this evening. And James, after last event's race at Long Beach, 36 cars around this Laguna Seca could get quite tight, couldn't it?
It definitely is. I think that's the thing. They're going to have to... Traffic is going to play a massive part, and I think they're going to have to be very, very careful. Going too wide through the corkscrew? Yeah, don't do that, because it could all just go completely wrong for whoever's in the mix. So they've got a lot to contend with here, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, but of course we'll bring up the schedule first because we're in this first part of the season still. Of course, we've had 3 of our races so far. This is round 4 before we head across to Detroit, which is going to be a very interesting race around the streets there. But Laguna Seca, it's a road course, but it is a narrow road course, and it can be quite a challenge for some of these drivers to face. So lots of challenges awaiting these guys as we make our way through 60 minutes of Laguna Seca, and I think a lot of laps, a lot of times we're going to see the Hypercars lap the GT3s, James.
Yeah, they're going to be probably every 5 laps, maybe, than that. Once they start lapping, there's going to be a GT3 on every lap that they do probably after. I don't think they're going to do a lap that doesn't involve a GT3, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But looking forward, we've got lots of slides to get through, don't we? Here is the track at Laguna Seca, the orange zone. You've got to beware because penalties in those areas will be applied a little bit harsher. But you see all around the track. You think down at turn 1, turn 2, the Andretti hairpin, you have that section of the track through 3, 4, and 5 where the corners are a little bit wider. It allows overtaking, but then you get to the corkscrew, and it's going to get a little bit more difficult through there, isn't it, James?
It is, yeah. Orange zone right the way up through 7 and 8. As I say, they are allowed to overtake. Penalties are going to be obviously harsher. Lanny Hall and Wayne Garvin found that out in Long Beach. They've both got to serve a drive-through after the green flag. So Lanny Hall, Wayne Garvin, if they're here, will be drive-throughing right at the beginning.
Yeah, and Wayne Galvin actually qualified P2 in the Hypercars, but we'll get to that in a bit. Before that, here's the strategy. We're looking at medium tyres, possibly a one-stop, because you can get about 30 to 35 minutes with the fuel. So it's going to be interesting to see how the strategies pan out for the GT cars. Of course, it might be slightly different for the Hypercars, as we might have a quick look at that. Thanks, of course, to Ross for giving these to us. Tyres, mediums and hards, and looking at a 2-stop. Not really going to be able to get to the end on just the 1-stop. And so, a little bit more strategy needed for these hypercars, and maybe if they're trying to push it towards the end, we might see a couple of splashes and dashes. Keys to the race, of course, you want to keep cool. You do not want to be making any rash overtakes. You want to be throwing away a good position, and like it says there, corner exits are critical because, of course, getting your hypercar particularly off the exit of the corner is going to help you set up the move on one of the GT3 cars to make sure you can get yourself around. Here are the standings, though. 3 rounds in, these championships starting to take a little bit more shape. Dan Kirby still leads the way in the Hypercar Pro category with Alec King and Kyle Vaser just behind him. Mike Bell, Franco Alvarez in the top 5 with Ben Kesby, Brian Hall, Adrian Rice and Dan Hunter in the top 9. We move on to the AM category with George Angelidis tied with Jerry Chen at the top there on 30 points. Scar Pope is in 3rd with Diego Rodriguez and Wayne Galvin not too far back. Norm Graff in P6. He's tied with himself, Wayne Galvin and Philippe Ducati on 18. Lanny Hall and Gilles Lalonde are a little bit further back, I should say. 16 points for them with Guillaume Benke and Jerry Hamilton running out the top 10. Jason White, Tom Mountjoy and Ken Scott are the other drivers in that class. Then we look at the GT3s. Mateo Santos and Alicio Neto, the top 2. Then Dan Kirby. He's top of the Hypercar Pro standings, and he's 3rd in the LMGT3 Pro standings. With JT Tammy in 4th, Matthew Overton in 5th, and Eduardo Beninca in P6. We look down the rest of the order, there's lots of drivers. Locke, Walker, Gutierrez in the top 10. Goncalves just outside Suntenlap as well. Ibbotson Smith, Ross Smith, that is, of course, helping us out and doing all the great work he does for the series. Daniel Fars, John Mayer, Daniel Anderson, all of the rest of the drivers. So many drivers in this LMGT3 Pro category. But then in the amateur standings, we look at the championship leaders of Josh McGlinskey, who's just ahead of Alan Holden and Stephen Miller, Alexander McQuarrie and Oliver Day. They're very quick here on their days, but no pun intended, with James Boders and Sean Kelly in the top 7, Gino Bardelli, Tom Nacella and Carl Scrowell in the top 10, Ryan Reyes, Philip Stocks and Cole McMillan in the top 12, Stacey Scott and Mike Olsen are the other drivers that are in the standings. In the teams, Flying Kiwi Racing are top of the tree with Hall Brothers Racing and Champion Motorsports GT3 just in behind. Red Weasel and PHO Real Sim Racing are in the top 5 with Barely Functional Motorsports functioning quite well in the top 6 for the time being. Shade Tree in 7th, Vice Racing in 8th, and CMS GT3 of Stocks and Nguyen with some work to do from the back. That is, I believe, all the standings we've got, James. So we've got through those. But, you know, with the race coming up, some changes around I'm sure we'll have by the end. And with those drive-through penalties that you mentioned, it's going to be slightly difficult for some of these guys to really get a good start in this race. Yeah,
Wayne Garvin and Lanny Hall, they qualified 2nd and 5th in the Hypercar AMS. So they will have to go in to the pit lane and serve their drive-through. We are joined in the booth. These guys are coming in to the warm-up now. You can see they've got 2 minutes left on that one. We are joined really quickly by Mr. Ross Smith. Ross, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Good, thanks, James. Darrow, how you doing?
I'm doing well, mate. Not bad, considering. You know what I mean? I'm all good here as well. You know, you've come to have a bit of a chin wag. It have to be a quick one because we haven't got long left due to the extra slides that you've provided for us this week as well. Much appreciated for that one. Ross, what are we expecting from you in the race?
Me personally, it's just going to be kind of a hang-on. The Lambo feels pretty good here, so we'll probably be mid-pack, but I think we'll have some fun battling it out with a few guys around here, so looking forward to that.
Okay, and in the sim itself, any improvements over the last week since we last time spoke to you?
Nothing really present on the surface. There were a couple very minor things that went on in the background, some of it getting ready for Le Mans. But we do plan on getting the visual updates here within the next few weeks. You're going to see them flowing in, and my goal right now is to try and have all of the GTs that are going to release in the WSC 2023 pack publicly to the Steam Workshop, maybe before Le Mans. If things work out, we'll at least get that out there, and then we'll be able to release the Hypercars shortly thereafter that.
Well, that's exciting as well. Working on the historics already for next year?
Oh, you know it. We've got pretty much all of the cars ready except for one. Well, as far as where we have them in some testing, that kind of thing. So we're very excited with the progress so far. You know, we've got a new modeler who's working with us. He's very good, very talented. So we're bringing that in. We're borrowing a couple cars from another modder group that has a few released in our factor too. So we're just pushing them together, and we're putting together a very, very exciting package for the historics next year. And I think that if this year was received well, I'm very positive next year is going to be twice as exceptional.
What year was that again, Ross? I can't remember what you said to me.
Oh, well, this year we're running 1964.
Yep.
Yeah, so 1964.
Yeah. What was next year? I can't remember. You did tell me.
Next year is 2025.
Sneaky, that Ross Smith, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, one day, Ross, one day we'll get it out of you. Listen, the grid's going to be up shortly. Warm-up's finished, Mr. Smith. Thank you so much for joining us there, buddy. Have a good one, mate, and we'll see how you get on at the end.
Hey, thank you. Thank you guys very much for all you're doing to put on a great show for tonight. We'll do what we can to make sure you stay awake in your late time zone you have over there, and I'm sure it'll be fireworks the whole way.
Oh, man, have a good one. Oh, one day he will tell me what the historic is. I'll keep trying, Dara, but it's not looking very likely, unfortunately, for that one. So there we go. But yeah, I think this
on announcement day.
Yeah, he'll tell Paul before he tells me. I'm really looking forward to this. I think this is going to be interesting. We've got 35 cars on the racetrack, so I think overall this could be very, very chaotic, and a lot could be happening here, Darryl. I think we could be in for, well, a very chock full of racing. So nice try there, James. Thanks, Dace. I gave it my best shot, but unfortunately he's just not budging on that one. One day, you never know. You never know. So yeah, should be good. But yeah, what do you think is going to happen here then, Darryl? Come on, all of these cars on the racetrack. We're at Laguna. It's very, very tough. It's dusty. It's slidey. I've been in the practice for the last hour, and I've seen people go out of the pit lane and literally miss the pit exit. I've seen Alexander McQuarrie go up on the air like he's hit a landmine. So literally just blew up, went up in the air for no reason, going around turn one whatsoever, and ended up on his roof. You know, a lot's going to be happening, but I think it's going to be tight.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most chaotic series I may have ever commentated and had the pleasure of commentating on. We've had, 3 events so far this season, and they have each been absolutely manic. So I think this evening is going to be absolutely no different. 35 cars pounding around Laguna Seca. I mean, you can see so clearly. Everybody knows it. There we go. There's a car spinning around at the final corner. There is no runoff. You have curb, and then you have the gravel. So if these guys make any mistakes, I think we're going to see quite a few drivers finding themselves into the gravel, aren't we?
Yeah, I definitely do agree with you. I want to keep an eye on Alexander McQuarrie, see what happens here, because he literally went round turn one. He's in about the same place where he is now, and he literally just blew up in the air, and no such thing for him. Right, looks like there's been a problem with the restarts. The warm-ups has to restart. Someone dropped out, so hence we've gone back to 3 minutes there as well. Alec, welcome in. Thank you so much for the broadcast tonight, boys. Hopefully I can talk to you with a win after. Yes, I would like to point out Dan Kirby's in the session, Alex, so I would just say good luck. Can I just say good luck on that one? Because I've got a funny feeling it's going to be very, very tough for you, dear sir, on this one as well. But I think Laguna, I don't know how these are going to cope with traffic. I've got to be honest with you, Dara. I think that they could end up making a few errors with traffic. I think traffic's going to play the biggest part out of everything.
And we saw last time at Long Beach, didn't we, where some of the drivers, they talked to us afterwards and they said that they were waiting a little bit in behind, they were holding back, trying to really spot the right place to make the move, because you don't really want to hit the walls. Here at Laguna Seca, even though there aren't any walls, realistically, the size of the track is about the same. You have got gravel to go into, so you may not completely wreck your car, but you are going to be finding yourself losing some time, but there's not that physical barrier and that mental block to make you not go for the move. So I do think we're going to see some more ambition in these drivers, particularly in the hypercar drivers, as we're seeing Jason Whited bounce his way over the gravel and pull it into the pit lane. But I think we're going to see a lot of that tonight. I think it's really going to be a case of what won't we see rather than what will we see, because like I said, we've seen it in all of the races so far this season. A lot has gone on, and and there's going to be a lot of room for 60 minutes of Laguna Seca for pretty much everything to happen.
I agree with you there. Stacey, where are you this evening? Why are you not driving on the racetrack? I was quite looking forward to seeing you out on the racetrack rather than sitting in YouTube chat, of course. But welcome in anyway. Thank you so much for joining us. I just think that Laguna, with this amount of cars, a 50-50 split roundabouts with hypercars and GT3s, and all I can see is just chaos. And that's no disrespect to anybody that's in the field. It's just the way, the makeup of the circuit that is just going to be manic.
That's the perfect example, isn't it?
Yeah.
Opening the wall.
Yeah.
It's just so difficult. We're going to see over the corkscrew Sean Kelly diving his way down. But it's so difficult, isn't it, to really pick your way through here at Laguna Seca, particularly in comparison to other circuits that we'll be going to throughout this season. So, yeah, very, very particular circuit, very much its own little entity, and I think we're going to see quite a lot of good racing. I mean, thinking ahead as well, we go to Detroit next, and I mean, I can't really pick out two very clear overtaking spots at Detroit. So whatever it's going to be like tonight, it's going to be even more manic there.
Detroit, then you got Watkins, you got Mosport as well. That's a tough one. Road America should be a little bit easier. VIR is going to be hard going through the Snake section out to VIR. Indianapolis will be a little bit more easier, and then we're finishing off at Road Atlanta, and wow, just for Road Atlanta. That's literally it. I just think it's going to be interesting. That's the
Road Atlanta is a season finale. What the lap time's going to be, sub 1 minute 10, easily. And when the amount of cars we're likely to get on track, it's going to be pretty manic. And I'm sure it's going to be no different this evening. But I'm very much looking forward to this. I mean, albeit it is 2:42 a.m. here over in the UK for me and you, James, but I'm very much excited for this race because realistically anything could happen with these cars on the grid.
Yeah, absolutely right. The grid is done now, so this should be the starting order for you there.
Here we go. Then Alec King is on pole position ahead of Dan Kirby. Those two, can they pull away? They've got Ben Kesby and Adrian Rice in behind, so they won't have the easiest time, but they are your top four for this race this evening. Back on the third row, it's Brian Hall, and then your leader in the AM class for the Hypercars, Norm Graff, with Wayne Galvin, who has that drive-through penalty to serve. He'll likely therefore be overtaken by Scar Pope if he can maintain his position off of the line. Jerry Chen and Gilles Lalonde in the top 10, with Lanny Hall and Jason Whited rounding out the top 12 in the sixth row of this packed grid at Laguna. Seca, we roll on and continue to the first of the GT3 cars. Eduardo Beninca is the leader. Jerry Hamilton just finding himself behind that car, so he might find it a little bit difficult to get off of the line. Max Sontenlap is next, and then we have the leader in the AM category of Alan Holden just in behind. JT Tammy and Alexander McQuarrie follow in the ninth row, and then Johnny Gutierrez and Matthew Overton round up the opening 20 cars. We continue on with Paul Ibbotson and John Ouya, and those two very colourful cars make up row 11 with Ross Smith and Eugene Mazur on row 12. Lots and lots of GT3 cars and lots of battling I'd expect between all of these guys, including with Eric Jacobs and Carl Screwall in P26. Michael Locke and Ryan Reyes in P28 will be looking to work his way back up through the field, as will James Walker and Stephen Miller, who will round out the top 30. John Mayer and David Anderson are in the top 32. And then just a few more cars, one more sheet to show, and it will be Sean Kelly, James Boders, Tom Nacella and Cole McMillan, your 36 drivers. Oh no, there's just the one more. I've just seen it on the timing page. We have the 37th car, and that's going to be William Hilting. So, a big old grid, lots of cars, lots of drama to unfold here, James, but it's all really going to be for these hypercars to get off the line pretty well and to try and get themselves settled into a rhythm before they meet the GT3s for the first time. Yeah, that's the thing. Now, I'm going to have news of Jerry Hamilton. Now, Jerry has joined the back of the hypercars, okay, so he was allowed to overtake Eduardo Beninca on the pace lap to join the back of the hypercars, okay, so he won't stay there. It is literally just for a minute, and he should just go and jump forward on that one. But yeah, this is, I think, if you're ever going to sit back and get a drink and grab some popcorn, this is going to be it. They've got the single file restart. They've all been told that as well. Alec King out in front with Dan Kirby, Ben Kesby, Adrian Rice. So they're going to be the lead cars going over the line. Then we'll jump to the GT3s of Eduardo Beninca and Matt Sontenlap. So yeah, we're going to be up and running very, very shortly. 60 minutes is going to kick off, and I think it's going to kick off in a big way. Yeah, Alec King, he will just hope to keep all of that madness behind him as he rounds the final corner. Of course, single file up to the line, so he shouldn't have too many problems defending his lead down into the Andretti hairpin, but that's much easier said than done. He'll run his way up to the line ahead of what you'd call his rival Dan Kirby, who's been an alien with his pace so far this season. Although they are going, they're going for the standing start, James. We're going back for a rolling start, but this could be even more interesting because they are going to be launching themselves off of the line in a very compact manner. Yeah, not... I'm a little bit confused by this. I was expecting the rolling start. Yeah, that's... I might not have done my homework enough. No, that's... We did have one at Long Beach. It was a rolling start at Long Beach.
And it should be a rolling
and they're all in the file.
Yeah, and it should be a rolling start here. So I at this moment in time, I'm confused because getting these cars off the line from a standing start with the amount of cars we have, well, you can
get ready, I think is all we can say.
I'm hoping there's another. I'm hoping there's another pace lap. Let's just put it that way.
Let's see though. They are all lined up on the grid, ready to launch if this is the case. Alec King is in the lead, of course. Dan Kirby alongside on the front row. Ben Kesby may be hoping to get a bit of a niche start off the line. I see 1 hour and 3 on the clock, which indicates to me another pace lap. So we'll keep an eye though. If they all go off the line at the same time, no, they will go off one at a time.
Oh, okay, good.
We will have another pullback. But for a minute there, I really did think we were going to have a standing start, and I'm not going to lie, I was getting excited.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, my nerves were rattling a little bit because the standing start going down into turn 1. Yes. Let's just say, all right, sorry. Stacey, don't. Back up. She's just got all excited in YouTube chat. She's like, holy cow! I'm like, no, don't worry. It is not coming your way, all right? It's not going to be a standing start. It will be another rolling lap. I am so glad about that because otherwise it was going to be, well, fireworks. That's the only way I can put it on that one. Now, as much as we'd love to have seen the standing start, they're definitely not going for it. Oh, that was almost fun. Yeah, I know, Stace, I know, but we'll settle in for a minute, Dara, I think, on that one, because that would have been quite interesting.
Yeah, it would have been in the chat as well. Another very good point. I like the idea of going to the grid, not knowing if it was standing or not. If you were the driver and you turned up and you went, "Oh, hang on, are we starting from a standing position?" You'd be absolutely, you would be able to work it out. And yeah, I think for the safety of some of these drivers through turn 1, good job we're going for one more lap. But I think if we did that standing start, I don't think any words we could say would do it justice. And I think we'd have to use an aerial shot to see all the madness, and it would take 5 hours to unpick. But thankfully, we're going to be on a rolling start, and Alec King will lead us away. But yeah, we're going to have to reset here because we were in rolling start mode, then we were in standing start mode, now we're back in rolling start mode.
I think the thing is as well, is like the analysis, he liked the idea of it, and the fact that we didn't have a clue, because in the driver briefing we were told it was going to be a pace lap and then we were going to be green. So that's what I was prepping for. However, just once, do it at Detroit or something like that. Can you imagine a standing start at Detroit? That would just be...
Oh, my word.
Oh, dear me.
I might lobby Ross to do that. That'd be fantastic.
It would be, yeah.
By the way, we will get going, though, with a rolling start as they round the final corner. This should be the green lap as the time is about to hit 1 hour. So 60 minutes of racing at Laguna Seca. Round 4 of the VWSC NRAS series. Alec King is on pole position. He's got Dan Kirby right up behind him. Can he hold off the fast-charging Kirby in the opening stages? When will we get this race underway? Alec King, has that prerogative. But we are racing now, I believe, at Laguna Seca. He's got a very nice launch ahead of Dan Kirby as he makes his way to the Andretti hairpin. Not really any moves in the background as you'd expect with a rolling start, single file. But for the guys in behind, they just want to make sure they get that start to make sure they don't make any mistakes. But as we look at the GT3 battle, it will be a good start for Benica if he can hold this on. Battle for P2 in the background, though, that could be an interesting one. Of course, we have to remember that there is going to be a drive-through penalty in here as well. But as they make their way through, Alan Holden we're on board with. He's had a good start, but we're just in the early stages here at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, we definitely are. We'll jump back up front very quickly to point out Alex King has taken that lead by about 1.2 seconds. Kesby's climbing all over the back of Kirby at the moment. He's literally about half a second back. There's half a second spread constantly between them. Gilles Lalonde is got a little bit more involved with him at the moment as he is in 11th place with Jason Whitehead there in front, and also Lanny Hall. But obviously we know Lanny's got to go into the pits. That's not going to be a great way of getting into the pits there if you can stay away from that one. Wayne Garvin should also be into the pits as well, because I have got an outstanding penalty from Long Beach for Wayne Garvin. So unless he's going to take the free lap rule, but I'm pretty sure generally it has to be done after the green flag has dropped. And Lanny Hall is in, doing what he should be doing, but why is Wayne not in? Because I do have him down as having a penalty, so we'll keep an eye on that one. In the GT3s at the moment, Paul Ibbotson is here as well. He's in 22nd place, is Ibbotson. He's in that green and dark green machine. He's chasing down John Uyan, who's trying to get past Matthew Overton at the moment. Ross Smith sucked in right behind them, all the way down to the back of the field. There's still action there. Cole McMillan is having a good old fight with Tom Nacella, so these guys in the Mustangs battling away once more on that one, as Nacella is just about trying to go up on the inside. So yeah, action all the way through at the moment, but at the moment Alec King flying out front with the hypercars, 3.8 seconds ahead of Dan Kirby, who has got Ben Kesby right behind him.
Yeah, and I believe that Alec King is only about 3 corners behind the back of the GT3. So give it 2 laps and he'll be right on the rear, and he will be racing along with those GT3 cars. Dan Kirby, he's not the best of starts, has he? Losing time to Alec King. Ben Kesby looking like he's climbing all over the rear of him. Not something we'd expect from Dan Kirby, but maybe just taking it slow, maybe waiting, maybe giving himself a little bit more of a race towards the end as we make our way through 1 hour of Laguna Seca. But Dan, he just looks a little bit vulnerable here, Kirby, from Kesby. If those two names weren't a little bit confusing with them right next to each other. Kesby looking for the move, but as we know at Laguna Seca, difficult to pick your way through because there aren't too many hard braking zones outside at turn 1. So if you've not got a lot of overspeed, you're unlikely to make a move somewhere in the in sector 2.
Yeah, exactly, and we've got to remember one thing, okay? Dan is not in the car that he would normally choose. Now, in Sebring, he was in the Isotta Fraschini, and in the 1.5 hours of Daytona, guess what he was in? The Isotta Fraschini. He's doing some testing in the Lambo, so he is still getting used to the Lamborghini. So, yes, although we're not expecting him to be where he is at the moment, I think he probably isn't going to be too fussed about where he is in a car that he's only driven as well for the first time in race trim tonight. So for Dan Kirby, we've got to give him a little bit of a break because obviously for him, he is driving a car that he's not used to driving. He's normally in the Isotta Fraschini, and tonight he is driving the Lamborghini. And that's not me making excuses, that is actually a fact that Dan Kirby is in that car. Now, there has been some off tracks earlier on as well. Sean Kelly, Jerry Hamilton, Brian Hall, Eric Jacobs, Wayne Galvin's got into the pits for his drive-through. So Wayne Galvin's got that out the way there currently at the moment. But the GT3 battle, Matthew Overton here. We've started to go through traffic. Now, this is where I love to watch what Alec King's going to do when he comes to the traffic, because we're coming up to the Corkscrew. Brake on the top of the hill, which is one of the hardest braking points to get right, due to the fact that it's a brow of a hill, right? You know, your car goes half and half almost. So we'll keep an eye on Alec King at the moment, see what he does going through the traffic, how he copes with it. But as you're right there, Dara, it didn't take very long at all. It was literally 2 laps before he even got there.
Yeah, and look, you can see the big long train of cars in front of him, and by the end of this lap, probably by the middle of this lap, he'll be trying to make his way through. So this is where it's going to become a little bit interesting, where we're going to see how Alec King plays it, because of course you want to be aggressive in these early stages, you want to get these positions done and dusted pretty soon, but you've always got to have in the back of your mind that we've still got 55 minutes left of this race. You don't want to blow it away now with so long left to go. But let's see, as they make their way through in towards this middle sector, he's gaining time hand over fist. There's a slow-moving GT3 on the inside of the corner, but he's now going to have to try and make moves through the corkscrew as he makes his way up towards the rail straight. So Alec King, oh, it's looking difficult, but you can see that inside line.
Alec,
early on,
dude.
nearly curtains.
Oh, mate, where were you coming from? That is Jerry Hamilton in the hypercar. I get the urgency to make the move, but I also don't get the urgency to send it through turn 5 where there is not a lot of room going up that hill. If he does this on any of these, oh, Jesus Christ, Mary, Mother of Joseph. I am, like, literally, I swear to God, I've just had a kitten. don't do this, okay? Please don't do this if you're coming through traffic, because I swear to God, if he carries on doing this for the next lap, I will have a litter.
I mean, Dan Kirby did gain nearly 4 seconds on that lap to Alec King, so he is clearly losing time in the traffic, but that was some, I think we should call them ambitious sends to try and gain the positions on the opening lap behind these GT3 cars. And when you're thinking that a lap is going to take about, what, 1 minute 15, he's going to be knocking off, 6 laps in 8 minutes, or even 7 laps, or 8 laps in 10. 8 laps in 10 minutes, which means he's going to be doing this about 30 times. You're telling me that he's going to be trying to make these sends 30 times. This is going to become a very long evening, and not a very comfortable one if you're Alec King. But let's see how he plays it through this final sector. Does he go for the inside line again? No, goes to the outside, a little bit safer. But this is already looking a bit sketchy. We were talking about it being a little bit exciting. Maybe the traffic is difficult to get through. I don't think we thought it would only take 5 minutes.
Yeah, The problem is, I don't know if the memory of the GT3's washout in... Jesus Christ! Oh, it's okay, Cat. I'll pick you up in a minute. That's the second one I've just had there as well. Oh my dearie me, this is like... This is just insane. I've never seen traffic management get dealt like this in a way from Alec King. That was so close to that BMW. It was almost scary. Let's see. Please, Dan, do this a little bit more calmer so we don't have to have kittens in the process. But yeah, you've got to be a little bit mindful. He's going to be doing this lap after lap now, right? There isn't going to be a lap I don't think he's going to hit a GT3. No, they wash out all day. They wash out. No! No! Oh, yes! The GT3s are together. Oh.
I think we can only apologise for the fact that we may spend quite a lot of this hour, either chuckling in disbelief or just, making noises that you wouldn't otherwise make, because this is why we love multi-class racing. Because there are 4 races going on, obviously, in terms of the classes. There's the GT3 off the penultimate corner. There's a rear end into the final. James Walker has been punted, or was doing the punting. Stephen Miller's now making the move. I mean, we are going to see 51 minutes of high octane, absolute drama, absolute cinema here at Laguna Seca. It's not going to end. Alec King is not going to be able to have a quiet minute. Maybe he will in the pit lane, but apart from that, he is not going to be allowed to breathe in that hypercar whatsoever, because the pace advantage that these hypercars clearly have over the GT3s into some of these corners is quite frankly frightening. And look at this now, on board with Alec King. Through you come up towards the Rahal bend. He's coming into the Corkscrew. There's one gone. He's going for the outside of another one. Is he going to go for a third? No. I mean, this is absolutely crazy.
Oh, gee whiz. Does anybody want to buy any kittens? I've had 3. I'm sure there's more coming here as well. Yeah, please, you can't do this for the next 50 minutes. You will end up in a wall. And I say that in the nicest way. This is going to be lap after lap after lap. That GT3's just got up the inside of us on the left-hand side there. This is going to be lap after lap after lap. He's going to have to be contending with this. And you can't survive. And if he does survive, well, fair play. Because I think this is probably the scariest way of handling traffic I've ever seen a car handle. And yeah, my God.
I mean, you know how in the challenges when you've got to make sure you're careful on the traction, careful on the exits. I mean, we're seeing it there. Alec King, you can see how much traction he had. He's got to be aware of that compared to the GT3s, because a little bit too much, especially if they change tyres and they have that much more traction, pure traction on the exit. I mean, he could be running into the back of some of these GT3s quite easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Breathe in and out, James. Relax. Good luck with that. I'll need a defib after this, I think. The way I'm not looking at Alec King going through any more traffic. I'm literally scared already. There's quite a little bit of a spread out in the GT3s. We've got our first couple of DNFs, Cole McMillan and Jason Whitehead there, unfortunately for these guys. Let's have a look and see if we can see what happened to Cole McMillan. And where are you? There he is. Oh, he's just spinning. There's a tyre barrier there.
That's pirouette though. You've got to give him marks for that.
And let's see if we can.
It'll help him in terms of like missing a tyre.
No, this is what happened to Jason Whitehead. A car. Whoa!
That was
bizarre.
That was interesting, though.
It was like a landmine. What? He just, it's a landmine. There.
What? Whoa! I didn't see it properly the first time round. Oh my word. Has he bounced his way off of the curb there?
I don't know if he bottoms out and hips a rib. Yeah, I don't know if he bottoms out and hips a ribbed on the curb or whatever, but whatever he does, he just goes and blows up. That's very, very bizarre. But there we go. Jerry Chen and Norm Graff are side by side. Well, near enough side by side, but they're also trying to cut through traffic at the same rate. The same rate. That is literally, do you know what that is? That is the urgency to try and keep up with the guy in front. That is literally all that is. We're on board with Jerry Chen. There's Norm Graff, and he is literally trying to keep up with how Norm goes for it. This is the desperate urgency. Oh, he said it.
I think you've got to be careful, James. You might have some of your family members coming in just checking on you because they can hear some weird noises emanating from you commentating. This is absolutely crazy. It's a little bit safer when they've got no one in front of them to overtake into turn one, but then you realise, oh, hello, there's another car that they'll be meeting in turn two, and then another in turn three, and it just rolls on and on and on. But these two guys, Jerry Chen and Norm Graff, these two, they are stuck together like glue at the moment. Down the inside, maybe. No, thinks further of it. This is just, you've got to be careful though, actually, because we saw it already. These cars going through on the inside, we might see it again where, you know, we might see some more Apollo missions taking place because they are launching themselves into the sky. But we're only a quarter of the way through the race as well, and we're approaching the first hypercar pit stop. But you know, it's just been chaos, chaos, chaos so far.
Yeah, Chen is trying. Stephen Miller's off the side of the circuit. We just got past him. Chen is trying to lap at the same pace as Norm Graff. But the problem is why he's trying to do that. He's putting himself in jeopardy trying to keep up with Norm, which is understandable. They're battling away for the lead in the Hypercar AMS, right? I get it. I really do. But at the same time, you might want to be a little bit more careful. Now, I'm hoping going to go down here to Matthew Overton, who is in that Aston Martin. He's chasing down currently Johnny Gutierrez in the Mercedes. So these guys are having a nice little ding dong in the GT3s. There was Alexander McQuarrie just there, trying to get out the way of Jerry Chen and Norm Graff there as well. But yeah, this is one of the GT3 battles we've got going on with Jerry Chen and Matthew Overton. So let's see how it goes on there. Take it easy, JP. Sound like you're having a heart attack. No, not yet, mate. But if you've just watched a car go and get blown up here in the random race circuit on a corner, and some of the driving we've seen from the leader of the hypercars, yeah, you would be having kittens as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to sleep after this. I think it's fair to say we might be just having to wait for the dawn to try and get ourselves to bed. But I mean, seeing through here, the Corkscrew GT3 sending it later on a hypercar, a little bit of contact to make their way down to the Corkscrew. This is the difficulty as well, because you've got to remember that the GT3 cars are not really that much slower through the mid corner than the hypercars. So particularly when you come towards the Corkscrew, if there's a hypercar sending it to the inside, sending it around the outside through the middle of the corner, the GT3 is not going to be losing a substantial amount of time. As you could see through there, you can see the exit that Norm Graff is getting, as well as Gary Chen on these GT3s. They're not going to get that through the middle of the corner though. So there's one, there's two, down to the inside of the third. Jerry Chen sends the move, but that GT3 car still trying to put it around the outside. In fact, getting overtaken just in behind behind as well. But we've seen it at the final corner, we've seen it at the Corkscrew. These guys, they've just got to be so careful, so wary of where to place their car. And it's just learning on the go, because you can't really practice for a situation like this, can you?
No, you can't. There's, you know, you might have been able to get into a practice session where all the cars have been on the race circuit, but that would be about it. You can't really do a lot else. You can see behind in the GT3s at the moment, this is Matthew Overton in the mix. He's got Hypercars on the inside. There's a car off the side of the circuit. That's Johnny Gutierrez. There's a back marker in there as well in the Porsche. I'm not entirely sure who that would be at the moment there. I'll have to try and work that one out. I'm wondering if that's William. No, it's not. And it ain't Stephen Miller. So, and it ain't Sean Kelly, because he's off the side. Don't come on. Anyway,
it was all fine. It was fine. There was nothing to worry about.
Nothing to see here at Laguna Seca at all, guys. You're in for a really boring evening of racing. So there we go. Oh, dearie me.
If there were highlights being made of this race, I take pity on that person. Actually, no. To be fair, they have the easiest job. What they do is they click the start, they click the end, and they just chuck the 60 minutes back up on YouTube, because there is nothing that you can edit out here. There's nothing. There's no 10 seconds without some action. You can see that Matthew Overton nearly making the move on Johnny Gutierrez, or just on another GT3 car down in towards turn 1. I actually think that
That's a Ferrari.
is just in behind. Who is that? It's Alan Holden, just in there. He's the leader of the AM category, so a bit of a mix of pro and AM in here. But you can see that Overton's trying to get a move on, looking to the inside at 5. That's ambitious, but going a little bit wide is Holden, giving the room to Overton. That's actually a very nice move by the Canadian.
Yeah, it is. Definitely a good job by Matthew Overton. That was for overall position on the circuit in the GT3s. So they're getting a little bit more spread out. Yuji Missouri is having a nice little ding-dong down here with Ross Smith, who, of course, is in the Lambo here this evening. These guys are continuing fights to go on the run from 5 up into 6 there. So a nice little battle further on for these. We've still got Norm Graff and Jerry Chen weaving their way frantically down there as you see Smith take off through the corkscrew. That's going to be one of the continual things we will see, I think. Cars lifted up in the air, hopefully not as high as Jason Whitehead, but you know, for these guys they've got to be a little bit careful, because if there is an issue on the track with certain points, and we said it earlier on with McQuarrie, who went up in the air and he did about 5 somersaults just by hitting something in turn 1. So they've got to be a little bit careful, because obviously if there is unseen landmines, they need to make sure that they're trying to stay to the racing line. If your racing line works and you don't hit one, probably best to try and stay to that one.
We can just see there Alec King ducking and diving through the GT3 cars through turn 1 down towards the Andretti hairpin. So not an easy evening for anybody involved, and we're already seeing quite a few cars a lap down, even a lap down on their competitors. Beninka in the GT3 category quietly going about his business. 13-second lead he has to Max Sunthunlap. So he's having a really good evening so far. Alec King's got his 18-second lead to Danny Kirby, who's currently stuck in a bit of traffic. But then you've got tighter battles in both of the AM categories. Only 5 seconds in the GT3 AMs and less than a second in the Hypercar AMs. And that is Jerry Chen and Norm Graff, who have been stuck together all the way through the opening 20 minutes of this race. Would you believe that we're only a third of the way through here at Laguna Seca? Pit stops approaching for the Hypercars. And I mean, they're just going to be pitting into traffic, out of traffic, and really, you can't really predict how it's going to work, whether you pit this lap or the next.
No, definitely not. I want to see why Johnny Yan is out. Johnny Yan is out here. Oh, dearie me, sir. Oh, John. How bad is the car? That's the problem.
Must be the suspension front there.
Something's gone, isn't it? Because he's just DNF straight after that as John. But there we go. He's now sat in the pits here as well. And trying to pick up where everything is going on. There's so much happening. We've still got Gutierrez being tracked by Overton, and there is Johnny Gutierrez, there is Matthew Overton, and Alan Holden is a little bit further back. I believe that's JT Tammy in the yellow machine. It is JT Tammy there. He's in the Lexus liveried. He is actually in a Lexus, which is good, because there was a Lexus livery the other day and it was on a BMW. That confused poor old Michael David no end on that one, because he called it a Lexus, and I was like, dude, there's no Lexuses in iRacing. Other sims are available, of course, as well, you know, rFactor, and all the other fancy jazz behind it. But yeah, now this is where it's just going to be one after the other. I think every lap GT3s from now on.
Yeah, I mean, we could see Alec King going through there. Now we're looking at Ben Kesby trying to make his way through this little group right behind Dan Kirby. So these two, they've been pretty close together all the way through. Nice to see that GT3 battle developing with even Sunderland not too far in front of JT Tammy. So about 4 cars covered by about 4 seconds there in the battle for P2. So nice and tight up near the front. But yeah, it's nice to see back. I mean, we've seen in races gone by so far this season where, you know, we've had lots of action, but we've really kind of seen the battles. Was Ben Kesby nearly going around. We've seen the battles eke out, the gaps widen as we go through the hour and a half. But here, we're seeing some nice close battles at the front of the field.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. These have got. They've almost got dancing partners, haven't they? That, you know, Kesby's got Kirby, Gutierrez has got Overton, and Jerry Chen, who's unfortunately dropped down the order, but I think Jerry has been into the pits there. He obviously had Norm Graff. So there's a partner in every class, which is great for these guys to start working towards. You know, Alan Holden, although he's a GT3 AM, he's got Overton in front and Gutierrez there as well. So he's got somebody to do the dance with once more. But I think overall there's just going to be so much going on. We spoke about it earlier. Traffic management. We have seen some scary moments from Alec King, who is in the pit lane right about now as well. So Alec is in the pit lane, as you can see there. He's dropped down into third. If he comes out with that mentality of I must get past every corner, if he doesn't end up in a wall or doesn't end up in some form of spin, I will take my hat off to him, to be blatantly honest, because you can't drive 36 minutes continuously like that. You will be... something's going to happen somewhere.
Surely. I mean, you'd think, wouldn't you? I mean, I cannot envisage that something won't go wrong, but, you know... You only in races like this, you win with a bit of luck, don't you? I mean, you may be able to get luck. The amount of cars on track, surely there'll be one little incident. I mean, there was nearly that incident on the opening lap. It got to the traffic, wasn't there? Down the inside of about 4 corners, where it nearly all came unstuck that early on. But you know, it's possible. I mean, he's come out in P3. It just shows how well he drove in the first stint, in the first 23 minutes or so, because he's come out comfortably in the top 3 in the class. Of course, the top 2 yet to pit, so he will re-inherit the lead if no mistakes take place. But you can see more GT3s being overtaken by the hypercars as they make their way down in towards turn 1. I do think that's Dan Kirby actually making his way through this battle for P3 in the GT3 Pro category. So all these battles kind of interlocking there. They're joining up, and then when you're looking at one little battle, eventually, you know, they meet on track with the hypercars and the GT3s with the pace advantage. But then they can blow each other both open, because if there's a mistake in the trains, then you're going to not just ruin a battle or just change the battle in the hypercars, you're also going to change it in the GT3. So there's big ramifications there. Yeah, there absolutely is, and you are right. You know, you make one mistake, it's going to cost you. This is Gilles Lalonde, that's Kirby. Kirby is the leader here, so I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I'm glad that move was done, and honestly, I think that may have taken a little bit longer than probably what it should have done. But it's going to be interesting to see where and what this man has got there. There's GT3 there. There's another one just up the road. He's going to... you can't take GT3s on the outside. And we know that
considerably, right? They wash out as they go around the corner. It's the natural line. They're not running all of these fancy downforce devices. You know, they've got a rear wing that, yes, does something, but it's not massive in the way that it controls the downforce on the car, right? But it does something, and you know, the same with the splitter on the front of a GT3. Again, it does something. Is it compared to the hypercar? It's minute. So they've got to be aware that the hypercar will wash out at pretty much most corners, and it just hasn't got the downforce grip, the bodywork grip to be able to pull the car through. And if you don't believe me, look at the Ford Mustang. It is literally like a house brick on wheels. Does it even look aerodynamically possible that they're going to have that aerodynamics to be able to do it? Absolutely not. It's just too bunchy and it's too blocky, and they're just not going to be able to do it. They've got to play certain GT3s different, and that's what they've got to do, because otherwise they're going to be in a world of hurt if anything happens there.
Yeah, I mean, just you cut away from this camera angle before, there was someone going wide down into this corner. It's so difficult, isn't it? I mean, for the GT3s, they're just trying to avoid the hypercars, because the hypercars steaming through like there's no tomorrow, because they have to make the moves in their eyes. They can't afford to lose too much time, because if you get stuck behind for one corner and it leads to another, you're losing a second, 2 seconds to the cars in front, and you cannot afford that kind of time loss. There's another yellow. There'll be yellows appearing as the tower lights up like a Christmas tree throughout this race. But you can see the amount of cars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 8 cars in that frame. And they're all in different fights. They're all in different battles. There's contact there with Johnny Gutierrez. And through comes Matthew Overton. He's taken advantage nicely.
Yeah, Matthew Overton has cleared Johnny Gutierrez. These guys have been battling out pretty much for the last 28 minutes. GT3 pit stop cycle probably very, very shortly. I would hope that these guys will have their pit stop cycles. Dan Kirby's gone into the pits. He is now down in 4th in hypercars. He's only 9 seconds off Adrian Rice. So for Dan Kirby, he's going to be able to hopefully close his way back up. But Overton, Gutierrez, Miller's in there as well. That's the number 15. That's Johnny Gutierrez we're looking at. That's Stephen Miller on the left-hand side. His car is, well, for Miller, it looks like he's been a few through the walls already. But it's such a... I think in terms of racecraft and using your brain, you've got to use it in a way that sits back and think, okay, if I let this hypercar through here, the car in front's going to be caught in a difficult position, right? So allow him through, because if that GT3's caught in the corkscrew, you can guarantee the hypercar's going to go through. If for whatever reason, you know, you catch the hypercar here, obviously the hypercar's going to make his move on his own. It's just about using your noddle as a GT3 driver. It's not about trying to hold up or hold on or clutch to that position, because you know that the car in front's going to go through it. Different for the hypercars, because as we saw with Norm Graff earlier on, he had Jerry Chen, and Jerry Chen was trying to go through at the same time as him. So he knows that he needs to go through because he doesn't want to lose that gap. It's a different mentality when you're in one car, and I've driven hypercars and I've driven the GT3s, and it is like a switch. It does give you that different mentality of how to deal with traffic, how to deal with lapping hypercars, and how to deal with the people you're battling with.
Yeah, and it's all about that racing nous, isn't it, really? It's just that racing IQ. Do you let the hypercar pass in this position, maybe to help you gain further on down the road? Because it's all about trying to gain the advantage. You could lose to gain, of course, you know. In many forms of life, you give a little bit up to gain a little bit in the long term, and you've got to really be able to analyze those situations well to really benefit your race and move you forward. And that is really what separates the good drivers from the great drivers. So it's exactly what we're seeing here, and that's why we're seeing the likes of Alec King absolutely fly away at the moment, despite the the early worries, I think, that everybody had watching some of the lines and the ambitious moves he was taking to try and get the GT3 cars behind him. That's someone going wide. That looks like it's a Hypercar. I'm not sure who that was. In the background, as there was also a GT3 going slowly, but let's have a look at this one. Inside line. Too much speed. Hello, gravel.
Gravel is your friend. But that's exactly the problem, isn't it? You know, you carry too much pace, you're going to end up there. Now we've got this situation of Scar Pope and Norm Graf. Now, if you watch, Graf's going to go past the traffic. Chen's just up the road. That's Jerry Chen, the leader of the Hypercar Rams. There's Norm Graf. There's Scar Pope. You'll be able to see how they manage this, because if Graf goes through, Pope needs to go through. And he's going to be forcing moves more than Norm Graf. Graf's in the kind of the hot seat, the driver's seat, the big boss man chair, you know, because he can control where he passes the traffic compared to where he can stitch Scar Pope up, and he's going to pass it because there is a group here. Look at the GT3s all across the track. Where do you go? Norgraf snatched it, boxed Jerry Chen in. He's taken a lead in the Hypercars, and that's what I mean. He's used the GT3, boxed Jerry Chen in. Chen couldn't go anywhere. Norgraf's gone through, taking a lead.
Yeah, and he will try and run away. I mean, he can try and run away, but he won't. There's massive contact.
It's coming back.
Oh, no. And he's a bit of a... Oh, he's just a victim of himself there, really. There was the spin, and then there's no way for the car to go, and all that good work. Norm Graf, I said spinning around. That is... I mean, you could just see him ducking and diving through the traffic, went to the inside, then to the outside. There's the smallest bit of contact, and then it was just that impending moment. You knew it was going to happen. And then the smash between those two guys, and unfortunate. Ibbotson involved in that?
Yeah. Now, I've got something interesting to tell you about Paul Ibbotson. In the driver briefing, he said to all of them, I will allow the Hypercars to go on the outside, right? On the inside, sorry, on the inside. So he was trying to allow Norm Graf to go on the inside. Obviously, Graf's forgotten that one, and he's gone to the outside of Paul. Paul's come out, which is what we said. They wash out. He washed out, and that was the end result. And that's just remembering from the driver briefing, where Paul did physically say on the run down into turn one, I will allow you to go through on the inside. And he purposely asked that question. So, where do you place the blame on that one?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because, of course, Paul was on the inside line there, wasn't he? Going in, like, it would have taken a big old lift off for Norm Graf to have gone to the inside there, and probably more dangerous to duck to the inside. Paul, I mean, the contact was made, wasn't it? Right on the front end of the car. You'll see it here. You can just see it's just the smallest of clips on the front right to the back left. Oh, sorry, yeah, the back left to the front right. So it's so unfortunate, really. I think it's probably just a bit of a misunderstanding. I don't even know if Ibbotson saw him coming around the outside. There's that much speed. We won't see him from that camera angle. There's that much speed. You can see him appear. And at that point, it's just too late to really do anything, especially with the track moving to the left naturally.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's so difficult. So difficult as a driver to comprehend and which way is he going to go? Is he remembering to what I've said? Clearly Paul was trying to get to the outside. There's no underestimating of that one. We said about the group of traffic in front. Norm Graf made the thing is he did something so amazing by boxing in Jerry Chen behind the GT3 to take the lead, and then it's like a hero to zero, but Paul was desperately trying to get to the outside. So, I don't know. We'll just let the stewards deal with that one. After all, that's them issues. We've lost Jerry Hamilton, Carl Strawhole, Jason White, Coleman Millen, and John Uyan. We've seen what has happened to all of them. King's got the lead by 23 seconds. It's all kind of settled down a little bit in the hypercars now in the classes itself. Jerry Chen, Scar Pope's got 1.2 there. We obviously saw what happened to Norgraf. He is still running, which is great news for him. In the GT3s, Johnny Gutierrez is in the pit. Said Eduardo Benica should come through and retake the lead in the GT3 AMS. It's Alan Holden who's got, he has got quite a big gap over the car in front of him as these guys have all gone and pitted. So we'll wait for the time to come up. 21 seconds from Alan Holden. So yeah, a lot's gone on that one. Shame for Paul, but I thought Norm was going to get away with that. I think Norm wanted one too many. Yeah, I don't know. This is why me and you, Dara, do the booth for not stewarding.
We get away with it. We don't have to make any decisions. No, but because it was difficult because Norm clearly had the speed to make the move. I just think they were, he saw the outside was free, so he went to the outside, and then Paul went, well, I'll leave the inside free for him to go down the inside. And they both basically just made the same decision, but in doing so, came together. I don't really think there was any intent or anything either of them could have done, because it's not like Norm cut across Paul, and it's not really like Paul drove it. Well, to be fair, I think if Norm came off worse there, the fingers might be pointed at Paul because he was moving to the right, but because Paul came off worse, I mean, there's not really much in it because they were just both going for the same piece of tarmac, and when there's that much overspeed, what can you do if you're in that situation? But unfortunate for the both of them, and exciting in those 3 seconds just to wait to see if there'd be contact on the apex of turn 2 because we could see it coming. We just didn't know who was wiped out there.
Yeah, it was like in 10-bit bowling, didn't it? He released the car, and you're never quite sure how many were going to... how many he was going to collect on the way through. That poor old Porsche that was there as well just got missed, and unfortunately Norm Graff, who was in the incident, must have thought, oh, that was lucky, and then next week, bang, Emerson just comes straight across the track again. But yeah, we just didn't know how many were going to get wiped out. We knew somebody was, and you could clearly see it, that group of cars, somebody was going to get hit, and I'm surprised he only got one, to be honest, rather than more than that.
Yeah, probably lucky to get away with that one, but regardless, the person who doesn't really care is Jerry Chen. In fact, he's very pleased that that's gone on because he's been given a little bit of free air in terms of leading the Hypercar AM category. Scar Pope is in there, Norm Graff still in P3. I mean, just shows the gap that they had, and Wayne Galvin, despite that early penalty that he had, back up into P4, maybe putting himself up into the conversation for a podium as well. So still storylines to develop. We're still at a third of the race to go, which feels incredible because we've had so much action in the opening 38 minutes here at Laguna Seca. But with one more pit stop to go for the hypercar drivers, it's not quite to the end yet for them. But for the GT3s, I think everyone has been through the pit lane. Or pretty much, yes, everyone has been through the pit lane, so they all should be going to the end.
Yeah, the GT3s will run now. That will be it. It will be done and dusted. They will run straight away through to the end there as well. Now, it does say a couple have had 0 pit stops. That is not correct. I can tell you everybody has had a run through the pit, so we'll get rid of that one because that's a little bit irrelevant. So there you go. Stacey, I think Norm came down too fast. Paul was washing out some. Yeah, he was. And as I say, in the drive-in briefing, he made it perfectly clear where he was going to send the hypercars, and that was down the outside. So maybe Norm came at a rate of knots that Paul wasn't expecting. I don't really know, to be honest, which way that will go. We're not a steward. Ben Kesby's into the pits as well, so he's in there doing his final stop. That will be it for the hypercars after this cycle. But, you know, look, it is what it is. They've had it coming together. Paul spun, collected some, only one car, which is a flat-out miracle considering how many were going through that corner at that particular time there, Dara.
Yeah, no, but I think the point that Stacey makes comes back to here. You can see the track just does go to the right. So if you're on the outside line there, you're just trying to stay on the tarmac, and the guy on the inside, of course, has got the tarmac to the right, so he doesn't need to turn left as much. But I think it's just part of the characteristics of the track there. They were both... I don't really think either of them were doing anything too much. They were both just trying to go about their business. But with the nature of the circuit there, I think it just didn't help with the collision. But either way, lucky, you'd say, for Normgraf to get away with that first initial contact and then the hit to still be in P3 in class, because it could be much, much worse for him. But looking here with Scar Pope, he's here as well. We're going to have a quick look at a replay as we run our way through the final couple of corners. Paul Lipson again, and that's a nicely executed pirouette, just about keeping it going, I think. But not the fastest of rejoins, James.
No, Scar Pope's also been up to something here as well. Oh, dearie me.
Oh!
No. That was a little bit slippery. Unfortunately, that's what we're talking about with that camera at the top of the hill. It's, oh, he's got in too hot. Ooh. Yes, sir. He went in a little bit too hot. Tried to avoid the car in front, of course. And then by the time he slammed his foot on the brakes, the back end turned around and went, oh, no, you can't do that to me. And off he went. So, unfortunately for Scar Pope, lost that bit of time. James Walker and Eric Jacobs. Big shout out to Eric as well. He's sponsoring my track this evening, is Eric. So, much love to him on that one. He just basically said, James, I'll sponsor your track. I was like, okay, cool. So, there you go.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, that was it. So, fair play to Eric as well. He's, yeah, wonderful man.
But yeah, up at the top of the Corkscrew there, turned into a bit of a dirt rally, didn't it, really?
Yeah, he just...
You get to the inside and you bounce to the outside, and then you're trying to spin yourself back around. There's a wall there, then there's a massive hill. You don't know where to go.
And the problem is he went from the brake bias of a little bit of pressure at 10, 15, 20%, and then, of course, he slammed it because he knew he had to get the car stopped. The problem was the back end doesn't like that. You know, certain cars, and hypercars are one of them, you kind of, it's how we explain the Mercedes GT3 when we're talking about it in general. You know, you've got to Netflix and chill them. You can't, you know, take them out and give them a vindaloo. You've got to sit them down with a nice little Chinese and a bottle of wine and treat them kindly, because then the car will be nice. However, that was Scar, yes, I believe that was Scar Pope going round on the corner. Let's see if we can find out what... No, that wasn't Scar Pope. So
she was Lond, I think. She was Lond. Looking at the timing screens, he stopped.
This is gonna... The problem is... Yeah, this is gonna be a couple of... Don't know. Maybe if we can catch it from here... Oh no, it's going to be like a lap and a little bit. I wonder if we can get it. Maybe this might be the moment for Gilles. He's going around turn 9. Not turn, yeah, around, no, it's not turn 9 because it's a long way round than that. This is the last corner, isn't it? Is this where he did it? Yes.
Yeah.
And then just
a drop of the rear, right?
But again, that's that same kind of thing of the brake pressure that we were talking about. You apply it, then you slam it, and then just round you go. And that's one of the problems that you have with when you're trying to apply too much pressure on the brakes. It just doesn't like it. And now, for the first time in the evening, we've got Wayne Galvin, who's chasing down Norm Graff here.
Yeah, and even after his drive-through, he's still having a nice day, helped of course by Normgraf going around down at turn 1 with that incident we've seen. But I was going to say, James, you mentioned Vindaloo before. I'd love to see if anybody in the chat, especially those from North America, if they knew the reference of me and my mum and my dad and my gran and a bucket of Vindaloo. I started saying that in my head when you said that, and I'd like to see if anybody in chat can get that reference. Because they'd get full marks if they can. Regardless, in this battle, Normgraf, Wayne Galvin, this is for P2 in class. And Wayne Galvin, I mean, he has really been shooting back up the order. I mentioned he had that drive-through penalty, recovered well, kept his nose clean apart from that. And despite the drive-through, seems like he's going to be picking up some good points.
Yeah, I think he's done really well, to be fair. But then again, we've not really kept track of Wayne, so apologies, Wayne, for that one if you watch this one back. But I think probably by considering where he is, it's possible that he's not had as many issues as some of them. You know what I mean? I think, judging by the fact that he's made his way back through and caught up to Norm Graff, who was ahead of him on the racetrack, he was more ahead of him when he come into the drive-through. So I'm probably guessing that Galvin's not had that same problem that he's had. But there are other pit stops coming, I believe, within the hypercars. Some of them should have already been in, and I think some have already there. Scar Pope's on his way out. Jerry Chen's been in, Ben Kesby's in and out as well. So yeah, there's a couple that have already done, and whether or not they're these two are going to have to go in. Stacey's guess: in the loo bathroom. It's not, Stace, I'm afraid.
Close.
Well,
Stacey, you do have to visit the loo after a Vindaloo, to be fair.
Yes, you
But,
definitely do, and for the next whole day, to be honest. Oh, Wayne!
Oh, my word. Oh, lights flashing galore. I mean, Paul is being involved in all sorts, and he's back in the gravel. Through goes Norm Graff on Wayne Galvin. Paul and Norm have had their fair share of incidents, and Norm goes wide at the final corner. Can Wayne Galvin snatch up P2 inside line? I'll have down at turn 1 if he can have the run. I think they're going to be locked side by side. If Wayne wants to send the move, he won't try it to the inside, and yes, he's going to send the car late on the brakes. Can he pull this one off through the inside? They've got a GT3 car up in front, but Wayne Galvin up into P2 in class now in a fantastic recovery drive, but that's if Norm can't take him back on the inside.
Yeah, Norm tried so hard to box him in. Tried so hard because he knew he had to get in the inside of turn 3, and he tried so hard to use that Porsche to keep him in there. Just couldn't get it alongside, and Galvin's gone now. That's it. Wayne Galvin, I would have thought, would start making moves forward. So these guys having a nice little battle, and I think this one could rage on right the way through to the end, depending. Norm's no slouch. Wayne is clearly no slouch either. So I think on that side of things, they're still continuing and will continue to go forward. Stacey, if you go on to YouTube and Google Vindaloo song, it was a English football nation's national song for the World Cup. Now I can't remember which one it was, and you can listen to it there. That's basically where the reference that Dara was on about was from. Because I think, Dara, we've got a lot of American viewers, and they probably could have been here all night guessing anything, and they wouldn't have got that.
Yeah, I think it's fair. It was 1998, before my time.
Did you Google that?
Yeah, you have to check that out.
Did you
I know random stuff like that. I know it was the 98 World Cup. I don't know why particularly.
Oh, well, there you
but
go.
I remember it was. Regardless, it's bit of heritage, really, isn't it?
Well,
that makes absolutely no sense to anybody, and probably less to all you North Americans, and particularly my family, who, when we showed them that, didn't understand a word of it. Either way, sector 2 yellow quickly cleared up. We've had many yellow locally.
No.
Oh, who is it?
Scar Pope. He's done it again.
Ooh. Oh. Exactly the same incident as well.
Exactly.
But he can get back out of it more easily because he knows what to do.
Exactly the same. He went in far too hot and did the same thing again. Now that should, and he's in the pits as well, so that's going to release Wayne Galvin into the front. Norm Graff's behind him. That could end up even. Where's Jerry Chen? Chen is down into the final corner. So that could, Pope's still in the pit, so he could end up losing quite a few positions here, because Gilles Lalonde is, Lalonde's up in the corkscrew. Pope's on his way out. There is Jerry Chen there. They're going around turn 1 together here, Dara. This is going to be mighty. This is going to be mighty. This is going to be,
And then they've got Ben Kesby, I think that is, riding behind them, trying to fight his way through as well. So as these two go side by side, there's a little bit of contact. Oh, not on the road is Jerry Chen. I thought they were both going to get away with it, but Jerry Chen just getting himself into the gravel. And Scar Pope just about hangs on to his top 3 position. Wayne Galvin, the fact that all of the drivers in the Hypercar AM category, they've all had their issues. Wayne Galvin's had his drive-through. Norm Graf had that issue down at turn 1. Scar Pope has spun twice. Jerry Chen has had his fair share of issues. Gilles Lalonde, you've seen him spinning around a couple of times. Lanny Hall had a drive-through. They've all had issues, and yet somehow, as Wayne Galvin's in the pit lane, that could scupper him. Norm Graf will retake the lead. This is crazy.
Yeah, I think this is for overall position. That's the thing. I think this is part of the pit stop cycle. So I've got a funny feeling that if Galvin's gone in, I think Norm Graf's got to do the same thing. So I think the on-track battle for the lead could be between Scar Pope and Jerry Chen. That's what I'm expecting to happen here as well. But depending on where Norm Graf is on his cycle, I don't know if he's pitted once or twice here.
No, you're right, actually. I'm going to have a quick look at the timing page, and it reads 1 pit stop to me. So he likely is going to have to dive it back in, along with Lalonde and Lanny Hall, who've also only made the 1 stop. Having said that, Dan Kirby, Adrian Rice, Brian Hall, in the Hypercar Pro class, they haven't pitted for a second time either. So maybe a couple of drivers are going to try and sneak their way in on a 1 stop, but it's going to be tough, and likely to see a couple of splashes and dashes come the end of the race. Another couple of yellows as Alec King. Is he in the pit lane again? Is that the
No, he's gone off.
pit lane?
What
Look,
did we say?
Corkscrew inside line. Oh no.
What did we say? If he got through the whole race without having an issue with any car at all, it would be literally a miracle. And you can see there, contact with Stephen Miller puts Alec King off the side of the circuit. I don't think there's a camera that I can get above the cars to be able to show you where the contact came from, but as I said, if there was ever going to be contact with Alec King, that was going to be it. This might be a good one if we can keep it there. There you go, goes up the inside. Stephen Miller, it's just, well, he's got a turn, right?
Yeah, I don't even know if he expects him there, actually, Stephen Miller, because it was a relatively late send. And it was in kind of that turning phase where Steve Miller would start to turn and, oh, there's a car there. The difficult really for him to judge the position. I was just getting confused because Alec King is still he's been in the pit lane for 4 minutes now, which is a long old pit stop, but he's on the track, so all should be well for him. Jerry Chen is diving his way through behind Scar Pope. This is a very nice battle for the lead in the Hypercar AM category. I mean, we've got bigger gaps when you look at the GT3 Pros, 20 seconds for Beninka, and for Alan Holden, he has got about the same of 20 seconds back to Alexander McQuarrie. So these two at the front of the Hyper AM category, great to see some battles with only 7 minutes on the clock, and you're thinking that we've only got another, what, 5 laps to go here.
Yeah, I think they have, and this is the closest battle on the circuit. I'm wondering where this is going to leave Kirby in conjunction with King. That's something that we would only be able to work out if we were in Kirby's car, and we're not. So I'm wondering where this is going to leave Kirby. Regardless, I think a pit lane or a splash and dash is going to be longer than the 12-second gap he's got.
Oh, absolutely. But that gap is coming down somewhat. It was 8 tenths on the last lap that it was reduced by. We'll wait to see what it is this time around, but I can tell you that Alec King has taken 2 tenths in the opening sector alone out of Dan Kirby. So it is going on. This battle up into towards the Corkscrew. Jerry Chen. No! Oh! He's not Scar Pope to Scar Pope, and he's going to manage to get away with it, I think, because Scar Pope gets caught up. They're going to still be pretty much side by side on the exit of the corner. And Scar Pope's, he's had a taste of his own medicine there.
And look, there's no graph.
This is crazy. Norm Graff now around the outside, not going to make a move there, surely. And, well, you're going to find the gravel is what you're going to do. And actually, through comes Wayne Galvin.
Oh, let's go.
So Wayne Galvin's here as well. So the top 4 in the Hypercar Ram category split by a matter of 5 seconds now.
Oh, man. Do not take your eyes off this. You're going on the outside again. Norm's got it. Norm's in the car now going, I need to go through, I need to go through, I need to go through, I need to go through. Get out the way! And that's all he's hoping is going to happen because he knows he's... Oh, Norm. Settle down, Petal, settle down, because you get through them cleanly. All the cars in front are doing the same thing. You know, there's Pope, there's Chen, there's Galvin, there's Norm Graff, and if he's got to go through the traffic, they've all got to go do it. Just make sure you can get through cleanly. Jerry Chen's been held up a little bit by that Mercedes. It is a battle of survival for the top 4 in AMS, but it's a battle, God help the GT3s if these guys are coming through together.
Have a look at the driver. Oh, there is a group. There is a group of GT3s. There's a big gap on track actually, which is between Max Sunderlap and Alan Holden. It is an 18-second gap with no cars in it. So it means that the further forward you go, there's going to be clumps. And Pope, Chen, Galvin, Graff, they are going to come to a couple of those clumps pretty soon indeed. They've got, I think, at least 7-8 GT3 cars in the first sector alone to try and work their way through, so this could get interesting if it wasn't interesting enough already. Ross Smith, he's going to try and move on the inside of the corkscrew and easily done well before the corner as he chases down Alexander McQuarrie at the moment in this one, but only 4 minutes on the clock now. Alec King, that is reading that he's in the pit lane. I don't know what to believe, if that is true or not. But,
no, he's out on...
sorry, Alec King's still in the pit lane. Sorry, yes. No, he won't be in the pit lane. He's fine. That's just been like that for minutes now. But I thought it was Dan Kirby who has come into the pit lane. Yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah, Kirby's in and out. We've got GT3s coming together. Matthew Overton and Mac Sunfenlap. They've come back together. Alex McQuarrie has just lost that place to Smith. There's poor old Paul Ibbotson. He's been in the wars tonight. I can tell you that one. He's been fighting the hypercars all on his own. Bless his little cotton socks on that one. Unfortunately for Paul. Yeah, poor Paul. That's all I'm going to say on that one. But Smith's in this battle. Keep an eye on the Hypercar AMS at the moment. They're starting to get a little bit more spread out than we really want them to, I think. I think that's the thing. You kind of want the Hypercar AMS as they are, but it's now 5 seconds between Graff and Scar Pope. So Graff's obviously lost a little bit of time somewhere. Oh, Paul!
Oh, no! Paul.
Paul.
I just want to give him a hug.
I know. You kind of just want to give him a little cuddle and say, there. It'll be okay. Settle down, Petal. You've got this. Unfortunately for Paul now, he's all the way down the back end of the GT3 Pros. And, clearly losing time. I can tell you now, though, the Hypercars are back together. Jerry Chen and Scar Pope for the lead of the AMS.
Yeah, and there's not really long for these two to be battling it out, quite frankly, because Alec King, he is marching on his merry old way. He's apparently been in the pit lane for nearly 10 minutes, but he is winning this race quite comfortably ahead of Dan Kirby. It would take quite a lot for him to be caught, but I do believe we will have 2 laps to go in this one. So, 2 laps for Scar Pope and Jerry Chen to fight this one out, and here are the GT3s. Here is who they've got to get through. And if my eyes don't deceive me, that is Paul Ibbotson again.
It is, yeah. He's a very recognisable livery. If you want your car mentioned on a broadcast more than anybody else's, make it bright. Make it bright and beautiful. We recognise them.
Livery.
Yeah, that's the thing. We do recognise liveries because that's how we have to... You know, let's be real, right? We can't always read the numbers, and then we've got to read the number and look at the timing tower and see who that matches up to. We do go by liveries, so if you want your livery noticed or you want your car noticed on any broadcast, in any league that you're racing, make it bright and beautiful, and I can guarantee your name will always get mentioned because just that's the way it is. Scar Pope's made a mistake. Here comes Jerry Chen. And Scar should use that GT3. Oh, he's done it again!
Oh no, he's done it again! Third time's a charm, and that could be the one that sends him out of contention for the race win. But he's put Jerry Chen off.
Galvin!
Here comes Wayne Galvin. They're going to have one lap to go. Jerry Chen's off. Galvin's through to the lead. There's only one more lap to go. And Wayne Galvin, who started this race with a drive-through penalty, he looks like he's going to be the winner.
And the two in the Hypercar AMs, Jerry Chen and Scar Pope, are now third and fourth because Norm Graf's gone through. So, oh my God, Wayne Galvin and Norm Graf on that one mistake has now taken the Norm. Oh, Jesus. Have taken first and second.
Norm Graf to the inside. He's taken one. That man, his chair won't be brown. It won't. You'll need a new one. Frankly, he's had one hell of an evening as he dips another wheel into the gravel. But he will try and continue on for P2. If you told me 20 minutes ago that Norm Graf was going to get P2 at a Scar Pope and Jerry Chen, I would have laughed you out of the room. But Wayne Galvin in the lead, what is going on? Regardless, here's Matthew Overton fighting with Max Sunderlap on their final lap as they make their way through the opening corner. Matthew Overton done the dummy up and under, and he moves himself back up into P4. But where is Alec King? Because the timer has hit 0. I think he will be coming through the final couple of corners now. Yes, here he is, final corner. Relatively well timed. Alec King, he's not looked back. He's had a fantastic race, and through the entire hour here at Laguna Seca, he has dominated, and he wins the race for the 1 hour of Laguna Seca. Alec King, your winner, and deservedly so. But looking further back, this probably the most surprising winner of the night, James. Wayne Galvin through the final corner. He had a drive-through on the opening couple of laps, but he will somehow win in the AM category. What a race. Norm Graf second. But my, that was some hour, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's McQuarrie again.
But at turn 1...
This is after the race.
Checkered flag, didn't he?
Oh, that was after. Oh, okay.
just
I was going to say.
collecting them. So to be fair, look, for the hour that we've had, that very well could have been racing.
Yeah,
in all fairness,
I wouldn't have known.
It wasn't, but it could have been. You can't really pass it up. But the final winner with Benica, who came across the line between King and Galvin. Those three came across the line in pretty quick succession. It will be Alan Holden, who has got a mighty lead. I think McQuarrie, of course, will end up a lap down on Alan Holden. So Holden has got it nailed on. But through the final corner, he will take his Ferrari to the top step of the podium here at Laguna Seca. But what an hour of racing. I mean, if that was Laguna Seca, what's Detroit going to be like in a few weeks' time?
I don't even want to imagine. I can't imagine what Detroit is going to be like in a few weeks' time, if that's going to be the situation. But let's get the results up for you here as well. We'll see if we can get them in before it changes over. And there we go, Dara.
Yes, here are the results. 48 laps in the end for Alec King. And apart from a couple right at the start, relatively comfortable laps for him to take the victory. Then we look back for Dan Kirby and Brian Hall in the top 3. Adrian Rice and Ben Kesby in the top 5. Then it's your Hypercar AM winner, Wayne Galvin in 6th and Norm Graf in 7th. Scar Pope, Jerry Chen and Jules Lalonde ran out the top 10 as they continue on the AM battle. Lanny Hall finished in P11, P6 in class. P12 overall is the first GT3 car, and it's Eduardo Beninca who had a very comfortable race in the end, winning against JT Tammy and Johnny Gutierrez after quite an interesting battle between some of those guys. Matthew Overton came home in P15 and Max Sunderlap in 16th, with Alan Holden, the GT3 AM winner, finishing P17 overall. Michael Locke, Eugene Mazur and Ross Smith ended up being 6th, 7th and 8th in class, rounding up the top 20, with Alexander McQuarrie and Ryan Reyes rounding out the top 3 in the GT3 AM category. We then look back to Eric Jacobs, James Walker and David Anderson in the top 25, and then our final real finishers on the racetrack, James Boders, Paul Libertson, who he went to hell and back in that race. John Mayer in P28. Sean Kelly and Tom Nacella round out the top 30. And then our only 2 other finishers ended up being Stephen Miller and William Schlinting. Great name that, in P32. And then our non-finishers, Jerry Hamilton, Carl Screwall, Jason Whitehead, Cole McMillan, and John Uyan in the end. But, oh my word, what a race. that ended up being, James, and an hour where we didn't really know where to look, and often where we did look, there was something else to look at the same time.
Yeah, there was just so much going on, right? And we obviously were trying to catch everything, and sometimes it just doesn't always work out like that. But I think at the end of the day, it was just action-packed, wasn't it? And that was the problem. It was just absolutely action-packed all the way through. I didn't really know what was going on. There was bits of everything happening, and it was just absolutely manic. So I loved it. I don't know how you felt about it, but I quite enjoyed that. It was just a very, very busy one for us up here in the booth.
And it was busy for the drivers, believe me.
Oh, hello, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing good. I've got the 4 winners waiting to come in. I just wanted to say that I was really impressed as the race organizer with the way that everyone behaved on track. A lot of really close racing. The hypercars showed a pretty good degree of patience given the nature of track, and just fabulous. I'm glad that you didn't know which way to look because there was stuff going on everywhere.
There was stuff going on everywhere.
All right.
Yeah, literally.
Who would you like first?
I'll tell you what, why don't we take in 3 to 1? So we'll take Alan Holden down here in... Oh, I can't move anyone. Let's have Alan Holden.
I'll do that. I'll be back in a moment.
Okay.
I'll let them know.
Yeah, we'll take Alan Holden there. Dara, if you want to have a chat with Alan when he comes in.
Yes, I had the fright of my life when Matthew started speaking.
I know.
I jumped back in my seat. I thought it was someone behind me. But either way, Alan, welcome in. Congratulations. A win here at Laguna Seca. How was that race? How did you manage the traffic? It seemed comfortable in the end. But yeah, how did you find that race?
Yeah, I think it went very well. It went way better than I thought it would. Off the start, of course, I was ahead of P2 in class, so I was just trying to keep JT, who was P3 in the GT3s. I was just trying to keep that gap between them. Made a bit of a mistake into the corkscrew, so I kind of had to let him go. But I was able to manage the gap after that and get it pretty comfortably. I was thinking of pitting in that race. I decided not to, and I got a little squirrely towards the end there. I got a little sideways coming off of some corners, but other than that, it went pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, you gained quite a few positions in terms of the overall. But finishing in P17 overall as well in a GT3 AM car, that's fantastic stuff. And well done too. I mean, were you worried at any point? I mean, you said about the pit stops. Were you worried that maybe the guys behind you, I mean, the likes of Alexander McQuarrie in there, were maybe able to push their way further up? Or when you saw the gaps, did you feel a little bit safer and were able to manage the traffic a little bit better?
Saw the gaps when I started to pit, and I was originally going to change for tires. I decided not to, just try and manage the gap I already had, and I think I managed it pretty well. You know, just trying to let all the battles ahead of me, just trying to filter out, just race my own race. I don't think I really got too nervous at any points. I think it was, as soon as I saw the gaps, I think I was managing it pretty well.
Yeah, and you managed it perfectly to win here at Laguna Seca. Next time, of course, we're going to Detroit. That could be interesting. Is that something that you're going to be looking forward to?
It's another street circuit. Again, another track I've never raced at. So, maybe it's good for me. These are 2 back-to-back tracks I've never raced at. I've got back-to-back wins. So, who knows? Maybe that's my good luck charm right now, I guess.
I mean, I think a lot of people are going to be in that same boat. But before we let you go, are there any shout-outs you want to make? Anybody want to shout out on the screen?
We'll shout out David Anderson. Again, give me a good opportunity. It's going to be a good week for me. I graduate tomorrow with my bachelor's degree, so...
Congratulations.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be good. Yeah, I know. It's been a good week.
24 hours for you.
Yeah, it's going to be good 24 hours.
On your degree and your win. Don't know which one's better, but of course, well done. Hopefully, we'll speak to you again after the Detroit race.
Absolutely. You guys have a good day.
Right, that was Alan Holden. Now, Matthew's run off, and I can't seem to pull anyone into the booth. So, yeah, Alan, if you can just run off and tell Matt we're stuck down here, that would be amazing. As I can't actually grab anyone.
All right, I'll make sure to get one for you.
All right, mate. if we're going to have a chat with Eduardo Bonica, we'll go up in GT. Oh, we're going to go up with Hypercars with Alec Kings in the booth.
How's it going, guys?
King, Alec. Yeah, hello, Alec. I mean, you put it in the stream early on the opening. You chat to it.
Yeah, I've got to cut it. Alec, I'm not happy with you.
Why is that? Why is that?
Because I've had 3 kittens, 4 heart attacks, and a partridge in a pear tree while you were driving past GT3s.
Yeah, it was a little bit sketchy out there, wasn't it?
That opening lap where you caught the GT3s, you made the send down into turn 6, I think it was, then into the corkscrew, then into the fire. I mean, how scary was it?
It's a little scary for sure. But I've been racing enough with some of these guys that you definitely can read people and can understand. And I will say, GT3s were actually very courteous this race. Very courteous with setting everything up, and so I have a lot of respect for them for that. But yeah, no, you really had to try and send it, just to try and pull as much of a gap as you could to the cars behind. Like when you've got Dan Kirby behind you, you do whatever it takes to try and get a lead. But no, just trying to stay consistent between all them and everything. Yes, you do have to make a little bit risky moves, but those passes and those moves are what make you up the time. So to take those couple risks, sometimes you got to just hold your breath and let Jesus take the wheel.
But I mean, as the race went on, you kind of worked your way through it a little bit better. You learned where you could make the moves a little bit easier. I mean, did you feel comfortable towards the end because you had that big gap behind you to the others? Did you feel comfortable at any stage, or was the fact that you never really know where the GT3s were going to place themselves and if you could make the move or not? Were you always on your toes?
So with the GT3s, yes, you definitely had to be a little bit more patient. But truthfully, at the end, I was more worried that Kirby was going to try and do this on one stop. So as we got closer to the end, he had about 7 seconds on me with like 5 laps to go. And I thought, there's no way he's going to do this on one stop. But I was kind of scared because he's Dan Kirby and he's awesome. He was going to do it on one stop. But luckily he didn't. So then I was able to calm down the last 3 laps. But truthfully, no, like I didn't really get too flustered, too worried about in between the GT traffic. They were all very courteous, very respectful, and I tried my best to be pretty respectful. Yes, you got to make some dive bombs and everything, but there wasn't really any wheel-to-wheel contact between any of them. So, yeah, you put yourself in a sticky situation and you got to make people uncomfortable, but luckily there were no incidents or anything, so we were able to come out strong and still get the win.
Yeah, but I mean, congratulations again. It feels like... every race we talk to you because of your fantastic performances, but congratulations. Looking forward to Detroit quickly. I mean, that is going to be an interesting circuit to race at. Is it one you're looking forward to? Have you done much running there?
So Belle Isle, I believe, is what we're going to be running, and
we're hoping to have the new GT. Actually, sorry, I'm just breaking. We're hoping to have the new GP track, but I'm not convinced it's going to get done in time. So it looks like it's going to be Belle Isle, which could be very exciting.
Yeah, I didn't want to spoil it, Matthew, so I'm glad you said that, not me.
That's the spoiler we're hoping. We'll see what happens, but it's not looking good right now.
Yeah, no, Belle Isle is definitely a track. I've ran it a little bit, not in a sports car. I did a little bit of IndyCar stuff at Belle Isle, doing some testing and stuff. But I think the track will be definitely interesting. The street circuits, I feel like, suit the Porsche a little bit, just because the Porsche rotates so well, and you can really get the car to stick. So for those tracks, because they're a little low speed, you kind of want to run the car tighter just to be safe. And I think that's when the Porsche excels really well. But no, I'm really looking forward to it. It's definitely going to be an interesting one. I think it's going to be even a little bit more chaotic than what Long Beach and what Laguna was tonight. Because it's a little bit more of a high speed Long Beach, but it's a little bit tighter and there's a lot more blind corners than what there is at Long Beach. So going to be really interesting on trying to make passes and, trying to find the right spot. But I'm really looking forward to it. So I've been having a really good time this season, and I'm really glad I've been able to run a full season this year. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the rest of the races play out this year.
Yeah, I don't know about you, James, but I am absolutely pumped for Belle Isle. I mean, it's going to be absolutely insane. Before we let you go, Alec, of course, any shout-outs you're going to make before you run off?
Yes, big shout out to my teammate Jerry Chen. He gave me a setup for this car that was amazing. This car worked so good tonight, and I think it really showed. He's done such a good job with testing this car, getting a lot of data, and I try to give him some little tips and everything to try and do it, but I really don't know how to set up a car. He gives it to me, and it just works amazing. So big shout out to him, Flying Kiwi Racing. Also shout out to my grandmother, Sue. She likes watching all of these, and she's up late right now watching this race. So love you, and yeah, thank you for watching. And but yeah, no, really excited. Thank you to Jerry, all the guys, Ross, Matthew, George, John, everyone a part of CMS, everyone a part of Storm Gang Simulation. We put together a really cool mod with some really cool cars, and I think we have a really cool series, so really looking forward to seeing what else we can do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that at all. But thank you, Alec, and well done again. I'm sure we'll be speaking to you after the Belle Isle race, unless something absolutely catastrophic happens. So well done.
Don't jinx me. Commentator's curse, man.
It's not real. It's a commentator's coincidence and a skill issue.
Say it depends who you ask.
Well, you guys take it easy. Thank you guys so much for doing this. And yeah, no, that was awesome. So I'm sure I'll see you guys again and be able to talk to you here soon.
Right, so that was Alec King. Should we go to Wayne Galvin, please?
I can do that. I'll bring him across now. Come on. There we are. Good. Wayne, you're now in the broadcast booth.
Hey, boys. Good evening.
You've been told, Wayne. Your race, Wayne, went from you're starting near the front, you had your drive-through penalty, you're working your way back through, you've somehow in the last couple of laps stolen the lead. How was that? I mean, were you seeing yourself winning the race at the start?
No,
how was it to see the two cars in front of you basically part the Red Sea for you?
Yeah, I mean, my heart went out to them. That was just bad luck. They got together. I think that was at the top of the corkscrew, maybe exiting corkscrew. I'm really not sure, but yeah, that just got handed to me, just dumb luck. So I didn't earn that, but you know, you take it when you can get it. But that was a ton of fun. I mean, you get lucky sometimes. Thanks to Matthew and the whole CMS crew for putting it on as always. These are just awesome nights to be able to show up and race with this many. What do you have? 37 cars that showed up, super great, and then you guys on the mic working the mic on that stream. So really appreciate it, boys. Thank you.
It's all right. It kept us more than awake. I mean, just in general, I mean, getting through the traffic for you, because we weren't really seeing a lot of you through quite a bit of that race, just because we were seeing so many other battles. But were you able to get your way through well? Because some of the drivers up front were struggling. Of course, the guys around you, they came together with a couple of the GT3 cars. But it just felt like that you were able to, even despite your drive through early on, just able to make your way through nicely and kind of slowly but surely creep up on the others.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch the review compared to the other guys, but I know I feel like GT3s were running good, consistent lines, right? So I feel like it was predictable. So it gave me a chance to maybe hang back instead of getting right on their bumper and try to get a run out of the corner and utilize maybe the acceleration, right? Because the braking, like Matthew, right? Like he's so good on the brakes, man. You can't outbrake GT3s going to a corner, right? So you have to try to be patient and wait afterwards. Though sometimes you have to go for it sometimes, but yeah, I feel like good consistent driving by both groups. But then again, if you're saying guys got together, I feel bad for them. But yeah, that's a tough track, man. That's just hard.
Yeah, and talking about tough tracks, I mean, next track's going to be Detroit, Belle Isle. I mean, that is going to be an interesting. Is it something you're looking forward to? Is it something you're dreading with the traffic, or where do you stand on it?
Oh, I mean, you guys are probably looking forward to it. I'm dreading it, right? That's,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, multi-class is so much fun, but it's so stressful, right? Because I got the drive-through right. I had contact with Daniel last race, and I felt horrible about it. But it was light contact, and I didn't mean it, right? And so yeah, you always feel horrible if you have contact with a GT3. Because I drive a lot of GT3 too, right? And you don't like when a guy comes over on you, right? But man, like some of these tight tracks with like concrete barriers, like Long Beach, Detroit, right? It's yeah, there's going to have to be some practice laps put in for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, I don't think, James, we can't wait for that because there's going to be a fun hours worth of racing. But Wayne, before we let you go, is there anybody else? I know you said at the start a little bit, but anybody else you'd like to shout out on the stream before we let you go?
Yeah, I mean, Norm Graff, we had a great race together out there, right? Like we battled really well, at hard back and forth racing. It was just a ton of fun. Like there was multiple times where I thought to myself, man, this is so rad to be able to do this. 37 other cars on the track, just getting after it. I used to race a ton of motocross in IRL, but to be able to transition to sim racing and still have that same rush of adrenaline, right? To be able to go battle with guys bumper to bumper, and then guys trying hard to be clean too. Like they're racing you hard, but they want to race you clean. It's just a ton of fun, right? So it's not lost on me that we have a blessing to go do this kind of stuff together. It's awesome. So thank you again, boys. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you as well. I mean, and congratulations on your win again. It's something that we weren't really expecting at the start of the race.
Yeah,
I think you are either,
yeah.
But yeah, exactly. But well done. Fantastic stuff from you, picking your way through and getting there in the lead. So congratulations to Wayne, and maybe we'll be speaking to you again after the Belle Isle race, where I think a lot can happen in that one, if tonight was anything to go by. But thanks to Wayne, and that means, James, that we've only got the one winner left in the waiting room.
And I will bring him in. Eduardo, welcome.
It's Eduardo. Mika, who, very, very comfortable drive for you. Didn't really look back. You got pole in qualifying for the GT3 class, then you pulled away from the rest. How was that race? How was the traffic? And did you feel comfortable during it? Because it seemed like you were at ease for quite a bit of that race.
Good night, guys. I have to congrats to everyone involved in the event, especially Matthew, Ross for organizing it. And well, basically, I usually runs against Daniel. Daniel is my first competition here, but unfortunately, he decided to race Hypercar today. So basically, my race has how can I say? I run almost the entire time alone against some hypercars that were overtaking me. But I could concentrate a lot in the race and do my laps, having constant pace. And in the end, there was really really good race for me, and that's it.
Yeah, but I mean, a fantastic race for you in the end. You really worked your way through well. Looking forward, if Dan Kirby drops back again into the GT3s, the next race is going to be at Belle Isle at Detroit. Is that a track you're looking forward to?
Yes, definitely. If Daniel shows up, you're going to have a nice fight, as usual. A lot of fun. And I expecting a good race anyway, no matter what happens. And I'm here to have fun and enjoy the car, the circuits. That's it.
And you're clearly enjoying them because you are doing so well. And congratulations to you. We really appreciate you speaking to us. But before we let you go, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to on stream?
Sorry?
What? Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Anybody you'd like to give thanks to?
Oh,
thanks.
Yeah, I have to say thanks to everyone involved, and especially I can say a little bit about Eugene because we had a team before and we're still talking a lot on the background and doing setups together. And he raced well today too. He did a nice race, and that's it. Thanks everyone for that.
Thanks, Eduardo, for speaking to us. We really do appreciate it. And well done. We might speak to you again after the Detroit race, but we'll have to see how you do around Belle Isle. But thank you very much, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, guys.
All right, well, James, that was an hour of frantic racing action. I don't really know where to go from here. I don't think I can go to sleep anytime soon. It was frantic. It was fast. You didn't know where to look. There were cars everywhere. There were incidents, and there was some great racing in there as well.
And just to top it all off, Wayne Galvin started at the front, had a drive-through, come back through, and won. That basically sums up how manic this evening was. It literally was crazy. I've never seen nothing like that in my life. I think that's just given us the best racing we've ever seen, because it was just chaotic all the way through. You know, everybody at some point had an incident with somebody somewhere on the racetrack, and I don't think there was probably one car that's got its whole livery still in contact and still in one piece. Somebody has got a wall scrape, a bit of a car left on the other side or something, because it was just so chaotic. But I've got to be honest, probably the best race I've commentated on ever.
Yeah, I very privileged to be able to commentate on this NARS series, despite the fact that it is 4 a.m. here. I am not begrudging that fact whatsoever. It's been a fantastic evening racing, as it always is, on the VMSC NARS series. Big thanks from ourselves to everybody involved in the making of this series. Of course, fantastic as always. Matthew Overton, Ross Smith, just to name a couple. Of course, everyone behind the scenes. making this series what it is, and all of the drivers that turn up as well, because we really do get treated to some fantastic racing. And talking of fantastic racing, next time, as we've mentioned, we're at Belle Isle. I don't know if it can get much more exciting than it did here this evening, and I'm sure if any track can produce it, it'll be Belle Isle. But you're going to have to wait a little while before we make our way over to Detroit, but it's not a million miles away, as we're only going to have to wait another 3 weeks before we roll into Detroit. But from myself, Darren Thacker, and James Parfitt as well, we thank everyone who has been involved, and everybody in the chat as well, everybody who's been typing along, keeping us company in these early hours of the morning. We will see you next time when we roll over to Detroit in 3 weeks, but from us, for now, it's a goodbye.